You ever been to a wedding where the wine has actually run out? The alcohol has run out for the guests. It's quite embarrassing if you've ever been to one. I have. Or they maybe deliberately didn't want it to have the people continue drinking. I'm not sure what was the idea behind it, but I have been to one. And, really for wedding time, it's a bit of a celebration when people are drinking wine and eating, of course. Hospitality is a big thing, and especially when you think about the first century um, audience where Jesus' first miracle appeared. You may recall in John chapter 2, in fact, John's the only gospel writer that actually mentions this miracle. But in John chapter 2, verses 1 to 11, this actually took place. Let's have a read of this as we maybe gain a few sort of thoughts from it, learn a few lessons, and see why this miracle is so important and why John, thankfully, put it in here for the audience, not only for believers, but also maybe for an unbeliever that might be reading this gospel. So it's found in John chapter 2, 1 to 11. And we're going to see also that there's a bigger plan, in the scene. We see that God is tender, Jesus is tender, and he cares for us. This is a very important lesson to start off his ministry, if you like. It says there in John chapter 2, verse 1, 2 days later there was a wedding in the town of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his followers were also invited to the wedding. When all the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." And Jesus answered, "Dear woman, why come to me? My time has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you to do." In that place there were 6 stone water jars that the Jews used in their washing ceremony. Each jar held about 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled the jars to the top. Then he said to them, "Now take some out and give it to the master of the feast." So they took the water to the master. When he tasted it, the water had become wine. He did not know where the wine came from, but the servants who had brought the water knew. The master of the wedding called the bridegroom and said to him, "People always serve the best wine first. Later, after the guests have been drinking a while, they serve the cheaper wine. But you have saved the best wine till now." So in Cana, Galilee, Jesus did his first miracle. There he showed his glory, and his followers believed in him. So we can see the scene there. It's very simple. Jesus and his disciples and his mum were at a wedding. The host runs out of wine. Everything's closed, obviously, at that time of night. So he gets 6 jars of water and he transforms them into 6 jars of wine. And that's it. And that's pretty much the first of major miracles that Jesus was performed. Seems like not much happening, right? There was no curing of the sick or anything like that. What's in it? Why is this significant, or is it significant? Well, when you think about in the first century, right, a wedding feast was a big deal. People would leave the synagogue and begin a procession through the city, winding their way through the evening. The couple would be escorted past many homes as possible so that everyone could wish them well. Then once they settled in, they didn't go anywhere. They didn't get to a honeymoon or anything like that. It was brought to them. They would go home to a party, to a festival, and it didn't last for a couple of hours. This was for several days, and there would be a lot of gift giving, speech making, food eating, and of course wine drinking. Food and wine were very taken seriously, and so the host would be who was looking after this took his job seriously. Of course, hospitality was a sacred duty back then. So when this sort of situation happened, it was obviously a bit of a problem. Okay? Without wine, said the rabbis, there is no joy. So wine was crucial, not for drunkenness, which was considered a disgrace, but for what it demonstrated. The presence of wine stated that this was a special day and that all guests were special guests. So therefore the absence of the wine was a somewhat of an embarrassment, would not you think? And so when Jesus' mother said, and she noticed this, that there was a problem, she goes to her son and points that out. They have no more wine. And do you remember what Jesus says? Dear woman, why come to me? My time has not yet come. So this words of Jesus is very important to understand maybe the significance of this. He said, my time has not come. In other words, the purpose for me and my reasons for me being here is not yet arrived. However, in this first miracle, it does show us a lot about what he was planning to do. He says words like this: the right time for me has not yet come, John 7:6. The time has come for the Son of Man to receive his glory, John 12:23. The chosen time is near, Matthew 26:18. The time has come for the Son of Man to be handed over to the sinful people, Mark 14:41. He looked toward heaven and prayed, Father, the time has come, John 17:1. So when you look at those words, the right time has not yet come, then you look at the other words, the time has come, the chosen time, the time has come. What do they imply? What do these phrases imply? A scheduled arrangement, right? A time frame. They represent a definite order of events that would take place. So the purpose of Christ, or his mission, if you like, was already planned. So this was an interesting situation. Not only was Jesus ready or understood, but this first miracle maybe wasn't part of the plan. However, Jesus, because he was on a purpose, was flexible, I believe. And this situation that took place, where he transformed the 6 jugs of water into 6 jugs of wine, was significant, because we can see that the Father was flexible, and so is Jesus flexible, even though this event wasn't maybe not scheduled, as it were, if I can use that phrase. But what else is interesting is in that first century, and I think why John writes this, the Greco-Roman world at that time attributed wine and pleasures to a particular Greek god and then a Roman god. And so this might be interesting for those who are looking into the personage of Jesus. Was he truly the Son of God? Let me give you a little bit of a background about who the god of wine and pleasure was. His name was Dionysus, and he was the Greek god of fertility. Later he came to be known chiefly as the god of wine and pleasure. Now the Romans called him Bacchus, and Dionysus was the son of the supreme god Zeus and Semele, the daughter of a king. And so he journeyed far and wide. I'm just reading from a website here. Everywhere he went, he planted vines and taught the people vine culture. On his travels, Dionysus was accompanied by demons. They were women, Maenads and Bacchae, possessed women who gave themselves to ecstasy. Excessive drinking and debauchery generally accompanied the cult of Dionysus, giving rise to the word bacchanalia, for a party featuring drunken revelry. Initially, Dionysus was often portrayed as a dignified elderly man with a beard, and later as a beautiful nude youth or as a small fat man, a barrel of wine, a bunch of grapes in his hand, or a wreath of vines crowning his head, and rarely missing in these depictions. So why is this miracle then? Why would John mention this miracle? I don't know, we can have a couple of goes at it. I believe it's to strengthen the believer's faith and convince unbelievers that Jesus is the Son of God, more powerful than the Greek God and Roman God there. Also foreshadowing the mixture of the wine, the water and the wine, that is of his death. That's why his time had not yet come, but his time was coming, right? So at his death, as we know, when the soldier speared him, water and wine came out. So it possibly was foretelling or foreshadowing this event in the future. So he took that opportunity to display that, and that the whole guest would be benefited, as the host said, that the best was saved for last. And so because of his blood, as we believe in him, we are saved, and the best is for last for us. And how did we receive that? It's a free gift, right? There was no charge to the host with this. This was a free gift of God's grace. Do we see a picture like that with the gospel of grace? Could this miracle, this first miracle, be depicting the gospel of grace, the eventuality of the finished work of Christ? Let me know what you think, this message of the gospel and the wine, turning this first miracle, the water into wine, what does it mean for you?